All right. And so with that, I am going to pass it over to Sabrina and we can go ahead and get started.
Thank you. So thank you, Sima and General Assembly for having me here today. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. So my name is Sabrina Ho. I'm the founder and CEO of Half the Sky. Half the Sky is a career platform for diverse talent, and we connect female professionals to diversity employers. I'm also in recruitment for over 10 years, and I've seen many crises in the job market during those times. Currently, we're definitely in a big crisis right now. I'm not here to hype or scare you. I'm here to give you the reality and share with you my experience on what you can do right now so you feel empowered to take actions.
All right, so before this, we have gotten a bunch of questions from some audience members and some typical questions. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask those questions to Sabrina, and we kind of chunked it into different categories before this. So we're gonna start with short term, and our focus is really gonna be around resilience and being able to recover quickly. So the first question we had was, I feel overwhelmed, anxious, and worried for the future. How do I cope with these feelings?
So these feelings are absolutely normal. I feel the same way as well. And I'm sure a lot of people around the globe feel exactly the same. And from my side, these are the three things you can do. And the first is acceptance. You know, accept the fact that the pandemic is happening and it's going to be here for a while. Except for the fact that your job is affected. You know, people, including yourself, are working from home. You may have extra workload due to the situation, and there's no extra pair of hands because there's headcount freeze. Literally all hands on deck. You may also get a pay cut as well. And during this time, companies unfortunately are in a situation to implement 3 days work week, you know, putting their staff on furlough or eventually lay people off. So according to a recent study from Asian Development Bank, there are about 68 million jobs could be lost in Asia due to the pandemic. So we need to accept that this is the new normal and this is the new reality. And to survive, we have to figure out how to move forward. Once we accept the fact that, you know, the pandemic is here, you'll find control in acceptance. And there are things that you can do. You know, you can still work from home, work virtually. You can still be relationship virtually as well. I think the second things to focus on is to focus on the present and focus on what you can control. Truth to be told, we can only control what we can control. And the third point you need to start will be building your resilience. Yes, just like this lady here. Because resilience is like a muscle in your body. We all have it. We human are resilient. We just need to train that muscle to become stronger and so that we can prepare for the future. There are a huge amount of changes and disruption at the moment, and companies are in survival mode. So you also need to be in survival mode as well. Now it's time to be resilient. And the reason why you need to be resilient is whether you're in a job or out of the job, things are not going to get easier. So to get out from this crisis for the next 12 to 18 months, well, we don't have a crystal ball, but we have to be resilient to survive. And I actually want to share with you a personal experience of mine during the global financial crisis in 2008. So I was being let go 3 times in 1 year. And now it must be a record. So if anyone broke that record, please leave us a comment. I would love to buy you coffee after this pandemic is over. So during that time, the recruitment market was dead. And I was so desperate to look for a job. And there's this hotel opening in Hong Kong. And I still remember that day, the sun was so strong. It was extremely hot. And I lined up with hundreds of applicants outside of that hotel, you know, under the bright sun for a few hours, just for that one interview. So the moral of the story is these experiences during crisis do make you stronger and make you more resilient. And to be honest with you, this is our only option to be resilient right now. So to summarize, you need 3 things. Acceptance, accept the fact that the pandemic is here. Focus on the present, focus on what you can control, and build resilience to cope with the feelings that you have.
All right, so number 2, I'm worried about losing my job. What can I do?
There are 3 things you can do. Number 1, stay on the positive that you still have a job. companies are laying off people now. You can read it on the news. And you're working in the comfort of your own home, spending time with your family, and you still have monthly paycheck coming in. So be grateful. And the second thing is take the lead. You may have more workload, as I mentioned before, due to the pandemic, but it's time for you to step up. Take the lead and make a name for yourself. How you help the business during this human crisis, people will remember you during this time. And trust me, you will be rewarded. And the last thing will be proactive. So if you're a manager, check in with your team frequently to see how they're doing. Ask them a simple question like, are you okay? How are you? How's family? And listen. And also have a weekly virtual coffee with your team and talk nothing about work. I think being human and empathetic will be much more important than ever. And it's great for team building as well. And if you're part of the team, schedule calls with your business stakeholders to find out the problems and solve it for them. Reach out to your colleagues and check up on them and help out. Be a great team player. And trust me, they will remember you forever. And I think although you may still be in a job, there's increasing uncertainty. So we should hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and have a contingency plan as well.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think we all get caught up in the work a little bit and wanting to really do our best at this point, but remembering to just be human and talk about other things is such a great point.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I just lost my job and worry that there will be so much more competition for one job opening since once the virus issue subsides. What can I do and how can I stand out?
Similar to the previous global financial crisis, the job market will become an employer market. The competition for one job will be a lot higher, and you may get too eager because there are just not too many jobs in the market now. But remember, we'll eventually get through this. And these are the things that I would recommend. Number one, don't be too eager. Just like this little girl here, don't be too eager. Don't apply every single job you see on the internet, especially within the same company. From my experience, it does not increase your chances because they have a system to track you. You don't want to be seen desperate. And also, if you apply for so many jobs within the same company, it just shows that you don't do research on the jobs. And also, you appear to be careless doing your job search. And you don't know what you want as well. So be very targeted on your approach. Do your research about the job and tailor your CV. And now we're focusing more on offline approach. Start with the basic first. Update your CV. And I'll go through with you each point of what it means. So keywords. Recruiters, applicant tracking system will scan through your CV and find those keywords the hiring manager is looking for, usually on the JD that they put online. So look at few JDs and find some common keywords. And after identifying those keywords, make sure you use them throughout your entire CV, but not overuse them. Format. Let me give you a stat. Hiring manager will only spend 6 seconds on your CV. So make sure that you use consistent format, consistent font, color, and date. No fancy design, no fancy font and color. 2 pages max as well. And I highly recommend to use Microsoft to build your resume because the applicant tracking system will be able to scan it. Also label the sections correctly. So if you have summary, work experience, education, skills, and interests, label the sections, these subheadings, put it on your CV. And last but not the least, it's very simple, proofread. Proofread from, front to end, end to the front, and then do it again. Because if you have grammatical errors, you may get rejected for that application. So this is a sample of the CV that I share with you guys. Very simple, under the contact section, put at least 2 contacts. So your mobile number, your email will be good enough. Any social media links you have, your LinkedIn, your portfolio, online portfolio, your blog, put it on there as well. And under the skill set, list your strength relevant for the role that you're applying for. And again, remember the keywords tip that I share with you. Utilize those common keywords and put it back under your skill set. For the career overview, it's actually a unique selling point about you. So highlight your skills, your accomplishment and goals in a creative and informative way. The goal is to use this elevator pitch section to quickly sell yourself to the hiring manager and entice him or her to read the rest of the resume. So again, for the professional experience, very simple, starting from the most recent and work backwards. For your responsibilities, put in quantifiable achievement. For example, how many people were on the team you led? How much revenue did your sales department generate? So put quantifiable achievement. And at the end, put keywords from the JDs onto your responsibilities as well. And last but not the least, in terms of education, put the names of the module if it's relevant to the role that you're going to apply for. Yes, so now we're focusing, now we finish offline, build your resume. Now we're focusing on online. Spend time to polish your online presence on LinkedIn. I can't stress enough, this is really powerful tool. Again, use your local language, because the hiring manager and the recruiter will use keywords to search for candidates on LinkedIn. So use local language in whichever countries that you're in. Put up professional looking profile pictures. If you have any thought leadership articles that you write, put it up on there as well. And please utilize LinkedIn to reach out to industry people, build the connections, and also utilize that to touch base with all your ex-colleagues as well. And I think the other thing that is very important, stay active within your community. When you see a post that you're interested in from one of your connections, give them a like, leave them a comment, and start communicating with them as well, get involved. And on your LinkedIn profile under experience, make sure you showcase your work. It can be your website, your media presence, articles, videos, or presentation, because the hiring manager and recruiters will definitely look at them. And I think one of the things that people always overlook is volunteer experience. Please, if you have any volunteer experience, put it on there. And if there's any responsibilities, for example, it demonstrates your leadership skills, put it on there as well, because the hiring manager will read it. And one of the things that you can stand out on LinkedIn is recommendations. So ask all your ex-colleagues, your ex-boss, your business stakeholders, or even current one to write you a recommendation. Because I have to say, some of the recruiters that I know, they will actually read your recommendations first, than actually what you're doing at the moment. And I think the other things that you can stand out is put your self-introduction video on LinkedIn. Introduce yourself, your experience, what you're passionate about, what are you looking for, and, broadcast it. And hopefully, some of the people that feel connected with you or looking for someone like yourself, they will just shoot you a message. Yeah, and I think the other ways that you can stand out, under the virtual world is to create a blog as well on topics that you're passionate about. So your work, your passion, and expertise can be seen virtually. And I think this is something that I want to talk about and dig deep a little bit more, because virtual networking will be prominent due to the issue of social distancing, staying at home. And here are some of the tips for you to ace it. And to be honest, there's not much of a difference than you connect with them on real world. So number one, define your goal, why you want to do it. What's your goal? Maybe you want to be a public speaker and your friend is experienced in this field, and you can have a Zoom call with them on how to be a successful speaker. Number two, reach out to warm contacts first. For example, your ex-colleagues, your ex-boss, mentors, and mentees. Send them a personal and warm note, asking them how are they doing, how you can be helpful, and their preferred method of staying in touch during this time. And at the end, ask nicely for a virtual coffee. And then when you reach out to a cold contacts, definitely send them a personal message when you invite them to connect. And the golden rule is add value before you even start asking for anything. For example, social sharing, commenting their posts online, or, send them some insightful compliments that will help. And also be clear when you ask them for coffee as well. What is this for and why that person should speak to you. I think last but not the least, look for professional groups to join on LinkedIn and Facebook and others. Joining the conversation, get involved, post and comment and make yourself visible. And also be sure to keep the conversation professional by posting relevant articles and chiming in on topics that allow you to demonstrate your expertise.
Thanks. I think this is really great because I think we're all going to have to learn to network from our couch very soon. So these are some really awesome tips. Okay, so looking a little bit further from a midterm perspective, in a crisis, there's an opportunity. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. A question that all came up was, what do you suggest to people who are already out of work and are in the midst of job hunting right now?
It's a good question. So no matter what economy we're in, one thing is always certain: there are still companies hiring. Some companies are even increasing their need for new employees now. For example, tech sector, online groceries, e-commerce, logistics, healthcare sectors. And it's also different depending on what stage of career you're in. So if you're more seasoned, there will be unique challenges for you that you have to navigate. So what I would suggest is be adaptable. You probably need to take a job that's outside of your comfort zone. Be flexible when it comes to pay and location. It's a bit easier for you if you live in Singapore, but if you live in Sydney, Melbourne, New Zealand, or Japan, you may need to relocate. Be out there virtually. As I mentioned, get your CV out there, network virtually, get your blog, your self-introduction video out there as well. Yeah. So hopefully after all that hard work, you will get an interview. And the reality is interviews are going to be conducted online right now. And here's the tips to prepare for your virtual interview. Number one, prepare like you would for a face-to-face interview. Do your research on the companies, read the news, financial reports, and be prepared to ask questions as well. Practice it with your friends virtually. I would suggest 2 to 3 friends. And if some of your friends are actually recruiter, practice with them so you can get some professional opinion. One thing, when you do video calls, your energy will actually decrease by 20%. So make sure your tonality, your energy, your warmth, your excitement of the role will be increased by 20%. And, again, dress like how you would for a face-to-face interview. And test the technology. Make sure you know the functionality of the software you are going to use, how to mute or unmute your microphone, and make sure you have perfect internet connection as well. And the few last point is declutter your background. Make sure it's neat and organized, so there's not much distraction from the background, and have good lighting. So these are the tips that I would suggest for a virtual interview, and it will increasingly become the new normal.
That's awesome. I just want to add a point about the dress like you would in an in-person interview. I've heard a lot of tips around that. And I think now that everyone's working from home, we're all used to being very professional half up and not worrying too much about what's on the bottom. But I think it is important to completely dress the part, just because as soon as you dress up, you feel more professional, and that comes across right on the screen.
Absolutely. Get yourself into that mode of being interviewed, being in the work zone. Yes.
So no pajama bottoms.
No PJ bottoms as well.
All right. So I was planning to ask for a promotion. Should I wait?
In my opinion, you should wait. And the reason being is, look, put yourself in your manager's shoes. They're firefightings. And the company is in a survival mode. This pandemic is not just happening in Asia, it's happening globally. So there are actually fires everywhere. Not just you, your team, your boss are putting out fires. I think your role now is to be a good team player and help out. Do your part and more, be proactive. And trust me, if you do that, you will definitely be remembered. After this pandemic is over, it'll be much more easier for you to ask for that promotion, because you've done more than you should do. And if they don't, I think maybe it's time for you to move on.
Will remote working be a permanent fixture in the workplace, and how will that impact hiring?
I think remote working will be the new normal. Well, actually, it isn't the new normal, because hundreds of companies, some of the best companies in the world, have had remote working and flexible working arrangement. Like the companies on our platform, you know, IBM, Cisco, HPE, DuPont, they already have remote working. They are providing flexible working arrangement to their employees. So it's just that now the vast majority of other companies are forced to adapt this transformation. And what will happen is companies are now reassessing their office space, and they realize some of the roles does not need to be office bound and don't need to travel as much. So how is going to impact hiring? Definitely, there are more companies promoting remote jobs, flexible working. From my point of view, it actually benefits women who are working mothers or women who want to start a family, and actually for men as well. So for some roles, remote working will be a permanent fixture, and flexible working will be much more prevalent moving forward.
Great. So let's move on to the long term, preparing for the future of work. So we're going to talk a little bit about retraining, reskilling, and relearning. What would be the best approach after the crisis is over and things get back to normal?
The best approach, I think the first thing we all need to understand is the normal is going to look very different from how we work, technology we use, how we get to the office. Things are not going to be the same. So recently I spoke to one of my clients, a large MNC, and they told me they're going to completely transform how they work. You know, different technologies will be utilized across the business. They want less people working from the office. And although we don't have a crystal ball, but one thing is guaranteed, things are going to change. So you have to be agile, be adaptable, and embrace the change as well.
What will companies be focused on first? Will hiring be one of the priorities? Should we expect lower salaries?
In every crisis, typically what happens is some companies will have layoff, some companies will become dominant. For certain sectors, hiring will be booming, and it will be one of the priorities. For example, as I mentioned, you know, the tech sectors, logistics, e-commerce, and healthcare sectors. And for some of the industries, their lifespan will be reduced dramatically. Let me give you an example. Retail industries. Because we used to think e-commerce would take 5 to 10 years to disrupt it. But what we see now is the whole society is ordering online, and we can get what we want at our doorstep. So if you're in one of those industries, you will expect low hiring and lower salaries. To cut the long story short, the job market is the demand and supply skill set. So if the demand of your skill set is lower and there are abundant of supply of those skill sets, of course you need to lower your salary to remain competitive, and vice versa.
I don't see a future in my current job and industry. Is it a good idea to take the time to retrain for a different industry? Will companies look positively upon my application?
Yes, absolutely. Use your time wisely. We look at your career goals. We look at your industry, where it's going to go, and ask yourself this hard question as well. Do you have the right skills to stay employed in the emerging new economy? If your answer is no, you need to retrain right now. And this pandemic is going to speed up the shift to the jobs of the future. And actually, we at Half the Sky have been promoting relearning, reskilling, retraining for quite some time. And now you need it more than ever. So do it now. And make sure to take advantage of this free time as well to build your skill in a new industry via online learning. And what I found nowadays, right, whatever you want to learn, there's something for you on the internet. Just Google it. And there's a lot of learning tutorials on YouTube, free courses online from Ivy League institutions. And of course, one of the very good e-learning tools will be in here at the General Assembly. Yeah. So from my point of view, now it is a good time to retrain for a different industry. And also, maybe I mentioned a little bit before as well, we're moving toward a skill economy. So if the skills you require are in demand, for sure, the companies are going to look very positively on your application, because what you're demonstrating to them is you have a growth mindset. And you may ask me, what is a growth mindset? So growth mindset is you're able to deal with disruption, manage the change, you embrace the change, and you do something about it rather than a fixed mindset where you disapprove of the future and the change, it begins. And I want to end this webinar in a more positive note. This crisis shall pass, and we've been through this before, but we'll definitely bounce back even stronger.
Great, thanks for this. So we are going to go into Q&A, and I think in order to read your questions, I just have to get off of full screen. So give me just a second. There we go. All right, so the first question, let me answer that. Would a recording of the session be available to watch later? Yes, we're going to send you an email afterwards, so you'll get this. But all right, so the first question for you, Sabrina, is it better to send my CV in a Word format or PDF?
Good question. So I didn't dig deeper when I talk about Microsoft Word. I think Microsoft Word will be better because there are usually a lot of MNC now, they're using applicant tracking system. So to make sure that robot can read your resume, Microsoft Word will be the safest. And also when you send it to the recruiters, because they're going to reformat your CV anyway. So I think the best is Microsoft Word.
All right, this one I think we answered a little bit, but do you see the type of jobs being in demand changing due to COVID-19?
The demand of the jobs changing.
The type of jobs being in demand.
So definitely remote working. So we receive a lot of messages and emails from our community, and they're asking for, are your companies providing remote working? And it seems like it's going to be a trend moving forward, that to work from home. Yeah, so I see the increase of demand in this type of jobs.
John's asking, is job location such an issue now? Surely it's more about time zone?
Job location. I think because of the technology nowadays, we know we can work anywhere, anytime, unless you have to, yeah, John is right, unless you're in a specific time zone that you need to lock in. And I think, location shouldn't be an issue. And I have to say a lot of companies start realizing that. So they may relocate their manpower from a high cost location to a lower cost location. Again, there will be more competition in the job market. For sure, moving forward.
Whilst companies are laying off employees across the world, there's still a bunch that are still hiring. For someone who's currently employed, would it be advisable to be opportunistic about searching for a new job and making a move during this pandemic?
I always say, right, during my recruitment career, always open for opportunities. You'll never know. Yeah, definitely. My answer will be open for that.
What are the skills that we should be focusing on building now for the future when everything begins to improve?
That's a great questions. I think whatever you're going to do, you have to be digital savvy moving forward. And I think one thing I always suggest to my candidate is, find your skill set, put a list, the skill set that you have, find out what you're interested in and what you're passionate about. And if there's a gap, make sure you fill those gaps. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you are in design, but because you need to be digital savvy, and how you're going to incorporate your design skills into the digital world. Think about, maybe you can be a UX designer. So, but you don't have those skills. You don't know how to utilize the software. Then you need to, get the e-learning to be a UX designer. So combine those, skill set that you have and the gaps that you have from the skill set that are in demand from the market, and just work on it. So I think I can't pinpoint a particular skill set, but you have to be digital savvy. But I think some of the areas I can share with you will be, 5G, artificial intelligence, UX, cybersecurity will be very hot moving forward as well. But again, it falls under the digital family.
Great. And I see a couple questions coming in the chat. I just wanted to let you guys know we're going to just be answering only questions from the Q&A. So it's a little hard to manage both. So just put all your questions in the Q&A and we'll try to get to them. Okay. All right. So in the resume under work experience, is it more important to focus on roles and responsibilities or milestones and achievements?
Mm. I think under your work experience, definitely put down your responsibilities. Again, put down quantifiable achievement, the numbers, the sales that you increase, you know, how many people you're managing, how big is your P&L. And the other thing is a lot of candidates actually forget to put on their resume is achievement. So they will only put responsibilities, this is what I do, but they forget, oh, this is how much I have achieved doing this job. So yes, achievement, responsibilities.
Great. How will the new normal and the future of work transform employee compensation and benefits post-pandemic?
Wow. I wish I have a crystal ball. So we all know, you know, what's going to happen. But I personally think it will be very flexible in terms of compensation. You need to be flexible and the companies need to be flexible as well. I personally don't know how they're going to calculate the compensations, but one thing that I can be quite sure is if you are in demand, you know, it doesn't matter what happened in the future. If your skills are in demand, let's say cybersecurity, let's say cloud architecture, you will be in high demand and you can ask for higher compensation. But if your skill set are within those sectors that may become obsolete, then you need to be more flexible. You need to lower your salary. You need to be adaptable.
What motivated you after you were unemployed?
What motivated me? Oh, you're talking about my experience, right? After
Mm.
I was being laid off 3 times in 1 year.
Right.
I don't know. I was just like, you know what? I just need a job. I am always a fighter. And I just feel that the more times they knock me down, the more times I will stand up. So, okay, you're going to fire me? No problem. I'm going to get a job no matter what. So that's why I lined up in front of the hotel as well, because no recruitment firm was hiring at the moment. So I think maybe that fighting spirit is deep inside me. So that motivates me to, you know, let me just go for another job. Yeah.
What about creating your own job? Would it be wise to start a business under the current circumstances?
Great question. So I'm running 2 businesses at the moment. So one is Executive Search, and another one is Half the Sky, which is, you know, HR tech career platform for diverse talent. I would say if you truly believe there's a need in the market, there will be a demand for your product and services. Go for it. There's no bad time to start your own business and, you know, chase your dream and, you know, go after your passion.
How do we keep the morale of existing employees after performing a layoff?
That's not easy questions. But I think from my own experience, what happened is for my team at Half the Sky, they're actually based in different countries. So I think during this pandemic, I actually over communicate with them. So I think what I would suggest is be open and honest about the communications. You know, what's the situation right now? Why are we doing such layoff? You know, share your struggles as well. And I think being authentic during this time is really important. Show your vulnerability, even though you're CEO of a, you know, big MNC. Be authentic so you can connect with your employees. So I think these are the things that I would do during this time.
Great. What temporary work opportunities are you seeing at the moment that people can do in the short term to tide them over until the market picks up?
Good questions. I think there are in demand of, for example, from what I know, actually some of my friends, they're in the aviation sector, because we all know the aviation industry is very quiet at the moment. So they become a Grab driver, deliver food. Yeah, so do what you can. I think this is one of the jobs that you can go into. And again, if you have digital skill set that companies are looking for, cybersecurity, if you have that, I think you can find a part-time job as a consultant to some of the companies there, because every single companies are using online. They put their offline database and information online. So cybersecurity is number 1 for a lot of companies.
Do you think companies will limit internship opportunities unpaid that they typically would offer?
Great questions. I actually recently have similar experience as well. We're trying to hire several interns from universities in Hong Kong, and it got stopped because of the pandemic. So me and my team were just thinking, okay, we really want to have these interns so that they can still gain the experience, even the whole world seems like has stopped. So we actually create a virtual internship. So even though they're based in Hong Kong, they can still learn and contribute, and we can still teach them. So it really depends on the nature of your business, because for Half the Sky, it's completely online, right? We use cloud to store everything. So we can do that. But I think for some other business, like if your internship will be in kind of retail, may not be, I think that will be, you will see a decrease of internship because you just can't physically be in the office.
Great. How do I explain to my potential employer that I was retrenched due to COVID? Wouldn't that make me look like less talented as the staff of the company did choose to retain?
Great questions. I didn't get into it, but I always share with people, the reason for leaving, stay on the positive. And I think definitely say that, due to COVID-19 situation, you were being let go. And I think everyone will understand it. And I still remember back then, I was being let go 3 times in 1 year. And I told everyone, I was being let go 3 times because of global financial crisis. And they was like, yeah, we know, don't worry. So it won't look bad on you. And I think what you need to focus on is the positive side. All right, you're being laid off during COVID-19, but what are you doing to improve yourself? What skills you acquired during this 3, 6, 9 months time to make yourself become more employable? So I think that's the attitude that the future employer want to see.
What are your tips when writing in the About Me section on LinkedIn?
About me. Good questions. I think it's a summary of who you are. It depends on your purpose as well. So if you build that LinkedIn profile to look for a job, of course, definitely your professional experience, snapshot, how many years, what companies you work for, and a bit of your achievement. But if you build that LinkedIn profile to connect with other people, then put in what you're passionate about. What field you're interested in. And I do see some people actually put a bit of personal note on there. For example, they're interested in, I don't know, painting. They will put it on there as well to make it more personal. So it really depends on the purpose of your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, it's good to add a little bit of personality.
Yeah.
While being professional. Is it okay to be reaching out to an HR person of a company without knowing him or her at all? And if they accept the connection, how do you break the ice?
Great questions. I think once they accept your invite, it's already a positive sign. I guess you definitely put a personal note when you send them the invite. And I think when you reach out to them, making sure, remember the golden rule, don't ask for anything at the beginning. Just chit chat, thank you so much for connecting. Or do some research about the company as well. And if the HR manager actually is, be one of the thought leaders on some of the articles, give them the compliment. Hey, I just recently read an article that you wrote on Human Resources Online. It's a great article. I got so many insightful tips. And then you can say, I'm actually, in the midst of job transitioning. Is there anything that I can tap on your brain? Is there anything that you can advise me? And I'm pretty sure they will give you a quite positive response. Tailor your message, make it positive, make it personal, make it authentic as well. Don't just like, hi, Sabrina, how are you? Thanks for connecting. Hey, this is the business that I'm selling. No, it won't work. You will not get a reply from them.
Okay. I think some sort of lawnmower or something is happening outside. So sorry if you can hear the buzzing. With the competitive landscape of job supply and competing with low-cost countries candidates, what competitive advantage that Singapore candidates have over those candidates in low-cost countries? And what skills do you recommend candidates in Singapore should possess? Soft skills versus hard skills. So I think overall, if I was to summarize the question, it's how can we stand out across, especially as things go virtual, how can we stand out above the other countries that have a little bit more of a low cost candidate pool?
I think from what I see, one of the biggest advantage for candidates in Singapore compared to other lower cost countries will be we're able to deal with complex situation. Imagine a lot of companies, they set up their APAC headquarters here. So your job, most often you're covering multiple countries in Asia Pacific. So you know how to deal with the nuances in different countries. You know how to deal with the complexity of the issues. And you manage a team, while they're based in multiple countries within Asia Pacific. So that takes experience to do that, which a lot of lower countries candidates may not be able to do. Because what I see is, let's say you are a head of legal in Indonesia. Usually they will only cover 1 or 2 countries, but compared to what I see is, let's say you're the head of legal in based in Singapore, they're covering the entire region. So this is one of the advantages that I will see. So that's the soft skills, how you manage a remote team. And then the hard skills will be your years of experience and the complexity of your experience, the experience that you have. Yeah. Am I answering the question?
Yeah, I think that's great. All right. What are the best places to find short online courses? Well, General Assembly is one.
Exactly.
But I'll let Sabrina answer some of the others.
Exactly. There are many options. As I mentioned, General Assembly for sure. I love their courses. YouTube, Google it. And I think because of the COVID-19, a lot of Ivy League institutions are providing free courses. So you can just find those online.
Is it better to have a gap on your CV or a short stint with a company?
Short stint. I think it really depends. Short stint, but what's your definition? If it's every 6 months and your job is actually a permanent role, you move every 6 months, definitely doesn't look good on you. But if you have a career gap, and you can explain what you actually do during that career gap, it can be 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, and you give a very reasonable explanation and what you actually do during that time. You may have a 5 years career gap. It can be, you're raising families. Because of family matters, you need to take a career gap, but you're still improving yourself. You take online courses, you're doing volunteer work, and during the volunteer work, you equip with your leadership skills. So it really depends. I can't say which one is good or bad. Depends on the length of the thing of your job.
Okay, so this question is, all else being equal, if candidates are equipped with the hard skills, what soft skills are critical to hone in right now and why?
I think one of the things that is really important, and I also mentioned at the end of the presentation, is growth mindset. How adaptable you are under any type of circumstances. Because what happened is, we've been saying it for years now, change is the only constant. But now what we're saying is changes every day, every minute, every second. So during the interview, the soft skill is you need to show is you have a growth mindset, you're agile, and you can work well in the ambiguous environment. You're willing to learn, you're willing to adapt change, emotional intelligence as well. And I think as a woman, naturally, we have empathy as well. And that will be very important, even during this time. Just be human, care about your team. I think these are these soft skills that will be important, and I'm sure there will be a lot more, but these are the things that I can think of at the moment. Communication skills, leadership skills, for sure. Yes.
Okay, if you're on the higher end of a pay scale and currently unemployed, but usually in high demand, do I wait out longer for a job, or how much of a pay cut is acceptable to affect my future packages?
It's not a very easy question, because I need to know which industry you're from, what type of job. But I think during this time, it's demand and supply. Yes, your industry used to have high demand, but now because of whatever is happening, the demand all of a sudden become very low. And you still want to work, you still want to have that job, yeah, take the pay cut. I would say, it's hard for me to say. Again, it's demand and supply. I would say 20%, 30%. And I've seen a very seasoned candidate took a 50% pay cut just to rejoin back to the industry, because during that time it was really bad. But after the market comes back up, they are having the same market salary. So it really depends.
I'm looking to transit to a new industry, but the JD keeps asking for proven work experience in skill sets. How do I fix this gap?
So what does that mean, proven work experience?
So I think this person maybe has some work experience, but it's not in the industry that they're applying to. And because the job descriptions are asking for relevant work experience, how do you suggest that they would show that they're still fit for this role?
Well, okay. I don't know which industry they're from. Let's say you're an accountant, you apply for a job as a legal counsel, then definitely there won't be. It's very hard that you have any match. But I think what you can do is, companies nowadays, they're looking for transferable skills. Do you have those transferable skills from your current job to this new company? And I think one of the misconceptions that people have is, for tech industries, a lot of these tech companies are looking for people out of the tech industry because they need that out of the box thinking. But because we kind of self-select ourselves out, because, oh, I'm not from tech, I don't think I can apply for those roles. But no, I don't think so. So, and on the JD, right, read carefully. They will say to you some of the soft skills that they're looking for. And of course, if it's a very technical roles and you don't have the technical skills, it will be hard. But if you have those transferable skills, yes, definitely, you can apply for that, even though you're not from that industry.
And if you take up a new skill through an online course, what's the best way to show that to your new potential employer? Would it be acceptable for new employers?
Yes, absolutely. Please do. It's so important because, again, as I mentioned, the future employer, what they're going to look at is, what are you doing? Okay, you're not having a job during this COVID-19. Are you doing anything to improve yourself? Are you retraining, relearning, reskilling? Definitely put it on your resume. And I think under the education section, you can put in a module. Let's say you have you get a certification from General Assembly for the digital marketing course. Put it on there as well, and kind of put in a bit more details about what you have learned during those digital marketing skills. Remember, I shared with you the keywords, and I'm sure if you study digital marketing course, I think you're going to apply digital marketing position, and look at those keywords and the common keywords and put it back on your courses as well.
What advice do you have for people that have recently graduated or are about to graduate?
That's a tough question. Again, it is quite unfortunate that you guys need to experience this, I have to say, because everyone's very excited, right? Graduated, oh my God, I'm going to go into the workforce, then this thing hit. If it's very quiet at the moment and you really don't see any jobs, do some research about what will be the future trend, after the 6 months time. Will your education will be in demand for the jobs that will be in demand in the future? If you don't, again, you need to learn some extra skill set so that you will stay employed and you will remain competitive moving forward after this 6 months or 9 months pass. I feel for you, but we can get past this. We can.
What is your stance on cover letters? Needed, not needed?
There's always two camps. There's always two camps for this question. One is no, you definitely need it. And I was like, you don't really need it. Really depends. From a recruiter perspective, I don't think a lot of recruiters actually look at your cover letters. They will definitely look at your resume because it's structure, it lay out, the dates that you joined this company, what have you done. Really depends. But I would say put much more effort and time on your resume than your cover letter. if you think the cover letter will help, by all means. And also don't forget your LinkedIn profile. Because what I see is a lot of employers nowadays, they don't even look at your resume or cover letters. They go straight to your LinkedIn profile and see what you put up on there. So make sure, I think, LinkedIn profile, your resume, and then the last thing is cover letter for you to work on. I just saw Anna's
great.
comment. Thank you.
Any pointers of what not to say to a recruiter? Any common mistakes to avoid?
To a recruiter? I think from my point of view, you can be very honest with your recruiters, because we are here to help you to land your next career move, to land your dream job. I personally think that the more honest you're with your recruiters, the more that they can help you. I think one of my experiences, don't lie about your salary, even to your recruiter. I've experienced about that before, and it wasn't great, because you really genuinely want to help the candidate, but then you find out they lie about the salary at the end. Then you need to cover it up, or you need to just be honest with your employer, and then that kind of just lose the opportunity. But I think in general, you can just be honest with your recruiter, even including, the reason for you to leave the last job. It can be, your managers, it's not great, can't get along with them. Then at least, as from a recruiter perspective, we can teach you how to say it when you're being interviewed and the hiring manager asks you, hey, why did you leave the last job?
So speaking of LinkedIn profile, should your LinkedIn profile be exactly the same or a more concise version of your resume?
You mean on the LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
I would say on LinkedIn, I personally prefer if you have like a portfolio of work that you have done. Let's say a website or articles or projects that you have done before, that you can put it online, put it up on there. Less words, but remember to put keywords on your LinkedIn profile as well. But I don't think, let's say you have a resume of 10 pages because you have close to 30 years of experience. I don't recommend you put all the 10 pages content on your LinkedIn. Put the key responsibility and key achievement on that profile. And I personally believe, when people go for LinkedIn, they will look at the multimedia, the videos that you have, the media presence that you have. If you're being featured on a magazine, put the article up as well to show that, to demonstrate that you are the thought leader in that industry.
And so along the same lines, Daryl's asking, how much should we be disclosing on our LinkedIn? It might seem too sensitive and public to disclose certain information and numbers when trying to showcase your achievements and milestones.
Very good question. I understand, sometimes, the sales revenue that you have, you may not be able to disclose it, or the P&L that you're managing. So if it's sensitive and you're not allowed to share it, don't share it. But let's say you can't share the number. Okay, I have made 200 million revenue for the company this year. Maybe you can share the percentage. I've increased the revenue by 50%. So, there are ways for you to showcase your abilities. Yeah.
Okay, and one more question. Do you have any advice for any candidates that are older, in their 40s, to stand out, especially when companies seem to prefer younger candidates who they can groom and demand lower pay?
Very good questions. And I know ageism can be a problem now because of social stigma. I think number one is choose the companies that they can handle multi-generational workforce. There are companies out there and they welcome multi-generational workforce. They love it. They embrace it. Just like there are companies out there that embrace diverse workforce as well. So find those companies because during the entire recruitment process, you feel a lot easier rather than they keep on being skeptical about your pay, your years of experience, because there's already subconscious bias. So find those companies that they welcome multi-generational workforce. That will be a lot easier for you. And I think the advice will be, again, even though you have maybe 20 years, 30 years of experience, look at the skill set you have. I personally believe you have some of the most valuable skills and experience in the world. Amazing. But I'm sure there are still some gaps of what the market is looking for at the moment. So find out the gaps and acquire those skill sets. Then, when you interview with your future employer, it's like, oh, great, you have 20 years of experience, but do you have this? Do you know how to use Zoom? Do you know how to use WebEx or something like that? Something more deeper. Then you're like, I don't. Then, yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to ask one more before we wrap it up. With pay cuts happening everywhere, when we do get a new job, should we be negotiating the new job based on our actual salary or the temporarily reduced salary?
Temporary reduced salary. Depends. From my understanding is some of the companies actually are not allowed to ask your last salary. So you don't need to provide that for some of the companies and positions. Look at the market, do your research to see what will be the range of your market rate and of your skills, your skill set and your years of experience within that particular industry. I don't think you need to negotiate with your reduced salary. If your skill set are in high demand in the future, definitely. If the employer trying to lower your salary or trying to base, the offer out from your reduced salary, I don't think that's the company you should join. Companies should compensate you based on the market, the demand and supply of the skill set. They should pay you fairly.
Great. Thank you so much. We're a little bit over time. Thank you everyone for all your questions. I think it made this really engaging. I really appreciate it. So definitely want to do a quick shout out to join the Half the Sky community. You're welcome to use Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. And then also from General Assembly, I'm going to be sending out this feedback form. Please do take a few minutes. It's really short. Just let us know how today went. We are always looking for ways to improve. Just like everyone else, we had to kind of shift everything quickly online. So we're still learning the process and are constantly trying to enhance things. So definitely give us your feedback. And if you loved it, let us know too, so we can continue to do more events like this. This event was recorded, so we will be sending that out. It just takes a little bit of time for Zoom to process the recording. So as soon as I get that from Zoom, sometimes it takes 30 minutes, sometimes it takes a few hours. So once I get that, I'll be sending out an email with the link for our feedback, as well as ways you can get involved with Half the Sky and the Zoom recording. So thank you guys all so much.
Yes, and thank you everyone. And I hope I can answer all of your questions. If you have more questions, please connect me on LinkedIn. Sabrina Ho, Half the Sky, you'll find me there. Send me a message and I'll try my best to answer.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a good day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.